everybody, and welcome back to the Triforce podcast with me, Lewis, and Pyrion Flax.
Hello.
And Sips.
Hi.
We've been away a little bit and around a bit. So
yeah, it's weird to be back, actually. God, we haven't spoken. None of us have talked for weeks now, right? It's been weeks.
Yeah. Well, you went to BlizzCon.
I did,
How
yeah.
was that, Sips? Did you have a nice time?
Yeah, it was good. I think it was probably the best one I've been to, actually. I really enjoyed it. I think, announcement-wise, it was fairly exciting. Like, the announcements were pretty good, I guess. But, I don't know. I've been enough times now where I know what to do and what not to do. And, it's good to meet up with people that I only see, once a year at BlizzCon. And yeah, it was awesome. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed myself.
Who did you go with? Was it just you and Shin?
Yeah, just Shin. Shin was over there already because he went to TwitchCon with Barry. They got to meet all of their streaming heroes, and that was nice. And then Shin just stayed on after and then met me there, and I flew in. We met up, and we hung out all weekend, went to BlizzCon, and then we went home. It was really good.
Man. So what was your highlight?
My highlight was probably the opening ceremony. We didn't watch it in the main hall this year. We went because they split the Hearthstone had its own hall. There was the main hall, and then Overwatch had the big arena. You know where they normally have the StarCraft 2 stuff.
Yeah.
So that big arena was an Overwatch arena, and so what they did is the announcements. Every game had an announcement except for Diablo, but so all the big announcements for each game were done in their separate areas. So the Hearthstone announcement was done live down in the Hearthstone area, but you could watch the whole opening ceremony down there.
Right.
But then the segment about the game was done live down there. So we went down to the Hearthstone thing and watched the whole opening ceremony from down there. And then when the actual Hearthstone expansion was announced, Ben Brode came out on the stage and it was all live and stuff. And did you see the new expansion? Did you watch the
vanilla thing? The fact it's going to be vanilla? That thing?
No. For Hearthstone, there's a new expansion coming out next month, and the style they did it in was like an old school dungeon crawler. They're introducing this single player roguelike mode sort of thing. So the whole presentation was done do you choose left or right? Do you want to go down do you want to go in the door that says, certain death on it, or do you want to go down the tunnel that's basked in flames or whatever? And then, the audience, he put it to the audience to pick, and everybody just picked the obvious treacherous ones or whatever, but the whole interaction was amazing. Everybody was screaming and going nuts and stuff, and it was really good. It was really well done, and it was just really fucking funny and stuff, and that was good. It was really, really good. It was a good weekend. I enjoyed it immensely. Yeah,
because I sort of didn't really feel like going after last time. I felt like BlizzCon was a bit of an Overwatch-centric event, it felt like, and they had become... Yeah. That was, a lot of new people had come into Blizzard, and there was sort of a bunch of the old guard, sure, but kind of mostly new Overwatch players. And I'm not a big Overwatch player. I know a lot of people are, and they're very into their Overwatch. But it definitely is divisive. I think people don't necessarily play all Blizzard games. They either only play Overwatch, or they only play Hearthstone, or they only play WoW. Yeah. And I think that WoW is one of those games which if you play WoW, you don't play other games, it feels like.
Yeah.
Although Duncan's been playing Destiny 2 lately because it was on the Blizzard launcher, and
yeah, I tell you what, that was a marketing masterstroke. Was nuts.
Is it a Blizzard game?
It's an Activision game.
Activision. Yeah.
So and Blizzard,
so Blizzard aren't really. I don't think Blizzard. Did Blizzard buy back their shares from? Oh, they brought back their shares. Blizzard Activision brought back their shares from Vivendi. I think they were owned by Vivendi, but I think they are still combined with Activision.
Yeah, they are.
I can't remember. We might have to Google that. But yeah,
Activision acquired Vivendi, and through Vivendi acquired Blizzard. But Blizzard, like you said, I think Blizzard own all their shares, so they're under the Activision umbrella. But Blizzard still have just do what they like. They don't line into Activision. They don't have to do anything they don't want to do, sort of thing. I think that's how it works.
Yeah,
so.
People are saying good things about Destiny 2.
Yeah, I bought it. I wasn't going to. The night it released, I was playing Hearthstone. I looked at my friends list, and everybody's playing Destiny 2. I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll pick it up and try it out. Because, if everybody's playing it, it must be good. And then, sure enough, it was pretty good. I don't know, if I'll play a ton of it, but it's nice. It feels good to play. The gameplay's pretty nice. It's, visually, very nice. I think it gets a bit grindy near the end of the game, which might be off-putting to some people, but me, I like a grind, so
I don't understand what type of game it is, though. Like a grind, what do you mean? Is it like is it
an MMO or a shooter?
It's an MMO. It's kind of like an MMO. It's like there's spots in the world where you stage like the town, if you like, sort of thing, where there's like vendors and stuff, and that is. You see a lot of people like in those areas, but then you sort of filter off from those areas into instances that you can either go into with teams or you can just go into by yourself. And sometimes you go into them by yourself and you bump into other people.
Duncan said you could. Well, what he said to me was you can complete the game in 6 hours, and I didn't really understand what that meant.
Well, you can level cap. The level cap is 20. So like you go through, you shoot things, you get XP, you loot stuff. You know, there's better guns and better armor and stuff, and like cosmetic stuff. And yeah, you could complete the game like pretty quickly, but then there's an end game as well. There's like raids and like better loot and stuff like that. So it's
the problem I have with these kind of games is that it always comes down to getting better gear in order to get better gear. Like, you have to get this, and then you go and fight these guys, and then you do this.
Yeah.
I never really understood what the long-term appeal of that was, compared to something like the MMOs. Like, when I played WoW, I played it to get to level 60, so I would have a chance to do those things.
Yeah.
And once I'd done them, I felt, I'm finished. Like, I have completed the game. I don't understand why people are like, I've got to do it 30 times to try and get this shoulder piece, which is marginally better than the one I've got. I never got that. I never understood that.
I think Destiny 2 is the same. A lot of people will play it, get to the max level, do a couple of bits and pieces, and then they'll probably be done with it. But these other guys, there's like more and more sort of challenges, and there's probably leaderboards and stuff like that keep people like plugged into it and playing, you know?
I think like Eve, I got it. Eve, I understood. Because there was no end game. The end game is we conquer the galaxy, and you're never going to do that. But it's because you're fighting other players, you get animosity building up between corps, and you're like, man, we've got to beat these guys. And that is the long-term draw.
I don't think anyone ever plans this, right? We're humans, and it's a bit like taking drugs, right? You ask people why they take drugs, and it's just like, I do it because it feels good, because I like it. I don't know, I can't explain it. I just like it. And there's certain things that we're organisms that have evolved in a way that we have to survive in the world, and now we put into this thing where we're sat down in front of a video game.
I never thought about it this way.
It's super weird.
I didn't realize that we were humans. I gotta say that came as a big surprise to me.
But what I'm saying is that like some of these games, I think originally, like in World of Warcraft, for example, the way it was originally built was that you would gear up in order to be good at killing other players. So you kill the enemies, the monsters together in order to get the very, very good gear that would let you kill the other faction and be really powerful and be overpoweredly powerful, right? So back in the day, your gear that you built, this was how MMOs worked. Before WoW too, you'd play the PvE game to be good at the PvP game.
Right.
So
but the
go
PvP
into PvP
in
with
WoW
your
was
super
like,
awesome gear.
There was nothing.
But that's the thing, like, very quickly, like, people realized that PvP and PvE were very different things, and people actually didn't care. People would PvE just to get the good gear and show off, and they didn't want to do the PvP part of it. They didn't need to. And in fact, the PvP people felt like they didn't want to do the PvE bits. They just wanted to fight other players. They didn't want to do that. And so it ended up diverging into two very, very different end games, the PvP end game and the PvE end game.
Yeah.
And that it's just an evolutionary thing of the game has evolved, and to scratch the itches that we want, like any game, you know, any book, any story, you know, you get to the end of it. What's the point? You've read a load of words. But it's not about getting to somewhere. It's about the journey. It's about having enough.
That's it. Yeah. World of Warcraft especially, like, you know, Flax, you were saying you wanted to get to level 60. Everybody does want to get to level 60.
That's the point. The point of the game is to get there. I guess.
You're not
it's a fun thing to do.
But depending on the guild that you're in, and that was the thing for us, we were in a good guild with a lot of people that we liked hanging out with. So even though we got to level 60, there was always something else to do, and some of it was not like achievable instantly, but you wanted to hang out with the people in your guild, and you would just log in every day. And sometimes I would log in and just literally run around Stormwind and just chat to people in guild and not do anything. You know what I mean? Like, it was like it was just like a visually nice to look at chat room.
Yeah,
basically.
At the same time, this game has a subscription fee. It wants you to come back. It wants you to keep playing. There's not an end. There's built in to be not an end. It's like if a movie has a cliffhanger at the end to set up the second movie because they want you to come back and pay to see that one to find out what happens.
Yeah.
Or it's TV series doesn't end because they know they're coming back and they want to get people watching the next series. They want to get funding for it. So they deliberately don't end. They keep dragging out this thing to string people along because that's how they make money and they're profit making. And it doesn't matter if you're enjoying the experience, but I think that sometimes people don't realize that this is what's happening, and so they get sucked in to this thing. They get trapped in the games. Like too many people, I think, play games too much, and the point that they don't enjoy it anymore, and it feels like a chore.
Yeah.
And so you have to be hyper aware of that with games these days, especially when there's loot boxes and things like this. You have to be kind of you have to be careful not to be sucked into one of those people who spends an insane amount of money on a free game.
Sure, but
and doesn't really get anything out of it. Because it's not.
It's time and place though too. Like we're older now. We're like like back when I used to play WoW, I was in my early 20s. Like I had a job and stuff, and I didn't have any other responsibilities other than that. So I had a lot of spare time, and that's how I chose to spend my spare time. Now that I have a lot less spare time, I don't spend my time doing that. Like I'm just saying that there's other things to do.
Like I think that, for example, with something like Wolfenstein, right, or Doom, those games they keep bringing out DLC every year or new expansions or new versions of them. But at least when you play Wolfenstein 2, which is really good, by the way. It's over in the 12 hours that you play it.
Yeah.
It's over in the 12 hours, and then you can move on and do and that experience is codified and cut down, and it's like bam.
I think it's more like having going to see a movie that's going to be over, and there might be a sequel. Yeah. Compared to watching an ongoing TV show.
Playing WoW is like watching 12 solid seasons of The Sopranos and enjoying like them all sort of thing, but it's a much bigger investment. And then
I was going to say EastEnders, but
EastEnders, that's it. Yeah, EastEnders, you're right, never ends.
But there's so many little addictive hooks that keep you in and hook you in, and kind of in a way, like for me, diminish the experience slightly by nature of giving you that addictive quality. I don't know. That's my personal feeling on that. Anyway, these games are very addictive. Beware of them. But
but on the flip side of that, something like Diablo, which is meant to be just as addictive, doesn't have enough of those hooks to keep people playing it. Like
that's because it's not greatly well designed, though. I think that if it was more aggressively designed, it would be very effective. And I think that we will. I feel like with games, we've talked about this before a little bit, but I see it as a thing which. The things that do well are the things that are the most addictive. It's like the most popular drugs are the ones that are the most effective at making you high.
Cripplingly addictive, yeah.
Yeah, because they're the ones that will sell the best. It's not rocket science there.
You don't want the ones, have you ever played that game Contagion, I think it's called, or something. There's a game where you have to get a virus that spreads around the
pandemic,
plague. Right, you can't get the one that kills them in 24 hours. You want to get the one that lasts a month.
Yeah,
and so they can get on a boat. There's no symptoms. It's like dormant.
Shit themselves silly on the boat.
Yeah, you want them to shit on the boat. You don't want them to shit on the dock when the guy says, "Whoa."
That's the point. You want them to shit on the boat.
Yeah, they've got to shit on the boat. It's the same with drugs. Shit on the boat.
You have to have a balance. It has to keep them alive long enough to... Right, I get it.
You know, I remember reading one of those news stories about those cruise liners that set sail and everyone's all happy and they're ready to have a good time. And then they get like halfway around the world or wherever they're going and everyone starts shitting everywhere. And
that happens a lot on cruise ships, apparently.
It's so scary. And then... when they get home, they have them like offshore, like they're too smelly to dock. They just keep them there for a bit while they keep an eye. Yeah. And I guess some people go out wearing hazmat suits to make sure that it's not some horrible plague that's going to kill everybody. And they sort of like
shit.
They got the power washers and they just give them a good old hosing down.
Like, just imagine that as a holiday. You're on this ship, everybody's sick and shitting everywhere and puking and everybody's miserable and they're poking at you with hazmat suits like in the bit in E.T. where the guys come and put the plastic over the house and start looking for E.T. It's like that shit. What a fucking holiday.
And they're all on that boat. Terrible. Everybody's on that boat shitting themselves, feeling awful, and they're playing WoW as well. That's
and they're all blaming each other. They're like, it was that guy looked a bit sick when he got on. I reckon it was him.
Didn't
it wasn't
wash his
me.
hands.
I'm just pasty.
Oh, no,
I don't
it's
go
never
out.
that, right? It's always one guy who's poorly paid, overworked, doing the food, right? Cooking the food. And he's like, I'm sick, but I'm going to have to go to work because I need the money. And he goes in, and he's not very well, and he sneezes on all the food or whatever, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does his best, but that's how everyone gets sick.
He's shitting a lot, and some of his particles reach the food. Through his polyester pants or whatever.
I think it's also the closed water systems that they have can sometimes go awry. So you've got these tanks of water and stuff
it's like that. A bacterial breeding ground.
Stuff gets in there. Like that's how is it Legionnaire's disease? That's how Legionnaire's disease gets around.
Yeah, apparently it's something to do with like water being sort of like left out in the sun, sort of thing for too long or whatever. Like
I thought that was from rats.
Some dude died like last summer, I think, from Legionnaire's disease.
Let's have a look at Legionnaire's disease.
He'd had like their garden hose. It came down to their garden hose was filled with water, and it was left out like in their backyard for like weeks. And apparently the conditions were like perfect for it to just breed inside the water, inside the hose. And then bam, he went to like water the garden and like accidentally drank some or something. And then he was like dead a couple of days later.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it's just naturally found in fresh water.
Yeah.
Scary. But I mean, I don't think it can kill you unless you are like weakened by like.
Yeah. I mean, he was older, like he was like in his 70s or whatever. So maybe he was just like, it overwhelmed him. Took control of his mind, body, and soul, and that was it.
It happens a lot because there's like I went to Bath, the Bath Spa, and there's like a big, the big baths there.
Yeah,
the Roman baths of Bath,
the Roman baths.
Yeah. And they don't let you swim or touch or go anywhere near the water because it's got this amoeba in it that's like the brain-eating bacteria. That's called brain-eating amoeba. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? But it's like a real thing. The brain-eating amoeba like gets into called Naegleria fowleri. It's called and it gets into like sauces. And once it's contaminated like a sauce, that's it. It's unremovable, right? So they can't get it out of this thermal baths in Bath. It's there forever.
What a shame. So nobody can enjoy like a nice fucking soak, a warm soak.
Well, they could. But they wouldn't remember it in 6 months' time is the problem.
No, after their brain
would have been eaten.
Stuff.
Fuck. So I think a bunch of kids like died of it. So it causes like meningitis like symptoms. I think if you get it, like that's it. There's no cure as well. You're like you just fucking die. It just eats your brain.
God damn. Well, that's not how I want to go. Like there's a couple of ways that I'd be quite happy with going, but like not that way. I don't want
to
brain eating. No, hell no.
No brain eating.
No
shit.
Thanks.
So yeah, talking about rats, like they say that you're never like 10 meters away from a rat or whatever, don't they? In London, anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true these days.
Most big cities, I would assume that's the case.
Certainly, like on the one hand, I've heard that the amount of biomass in the earth, biodiversity is decreasing as well, but like generally biomass. Like so, for example, like I live in Clifton, right, which is this sort of slightly nicer area of Bristol.
Oh, yeah. What's your address?
I live in the basement of this place, and I got an email yesterday from the estate agent, and he said, do you want me to read it, actually? I'll read the email, because it's kind of worded in a way that is quite annoying. So it says here, "Hi, Jen. Steve, the painter, has just alerted us to the presence of a rat.
Fuck.
As we are dealing with an issue of public health, urgent action seems to be required." And it says also here,
what are you going to do?
It says here, the rat was probably attracted by a recycling box left by my landlord's tenants outside their front door, implying that it was my fault, right? That the box of cardboard left outside my front door was the source of this rat, right? Like I've caused some sort of rat infestation here. It just shows how upper class.
This is like the ancient Greeks used to think that animals just sprung from the ground. Like they didn't understand that and insects and stuff like that just appeared. I can't remember what they called it, but they thought that they didn't realize that animals that were very small became bigger. They just thought insects just spawned.
Right.
They didn't realize about the whole life cycle of animals and stuff. And it's like people thinking if you put rubbish out, a rat just is beamed down from the mothership in orbit. Oh, pizza box with a bit of cheese spotted. Send down rat number 584743/B7. On my way, Commander. And they beam him down, and he finds the cheese. And someone's like, oh my God, the rat invasion has begun. No, They're there all the time. You just happen to see it. That's
exactly. I'd be more surprised if there wasn't a fucking rat down there. Christ. Like I'd be more worried about that. I'd be
in the house. I understand.
I'd be leaving plates of cheese out, and I was hoping to get some round because I've been missing them. I'm thinking I need a pet. I'm a bit lonely down here.
Ratty. Yeah. It's fucking. You live in a city, or even you live anywhere. There are rats in the countryside. People think they're only in the city. You go to the countryside, you see all kinds of fucking animals out there, and rats are one of them.
I remember I was sitting in London outside the cinema waiting for some guys to turn up, and I was in one of these like Parky Square things outside waiting. I was there for about half an hour. Anyway, I was having like a McDonald's chips. So I was sat outside of McDonald's basically on this square.
Right.
And there was these bushes behind me. So a little wall, a circular sort of bush going around this square. And so it was like a circular bush and then like grass in the middle and obviously like shops and stuff around the outside. Anyway, I was like, I looked around and I saw this like movement out of the corner of my eye, as you do. Like when you see like a massive spider run across the floor or something in your place. That happens all the time to me. In the basement, I get a lot of critters. Anyway, I looked around, I caught this thing, and it was like a whole family of mice. It was like daddy mice, mummy mouse, and like 3 little mice, like just running round this like circle and like nibbling on all the bits of obviously McDonald's rubbish and stuff that people leave in there. And I wasn't freaked out by it. I was like, oh my God, that's so adorable and so nice, like to see like animals actually, in the wild. It was cute. It was nice. I don't know. They might have been rats actually rather than mice. But anyway, they looked
They're
glossy
just
coats.
living their fucking lives, man.
They'd obviously had,
They're just trying to get on. They don't understand why food is wrapped up in paper and stuff.
They eat all the discarded bits of McDonald's burgers and stuff.
You know what? That disturbs me about modern life is that, especially, you get a lot of people. Like, I consider myself someone who's concerned about the environment. I don't want to die in a flaming ball of misery and pollution and everything like that.
No.
I was surprised. Even Michael Gove, arch arsehole of the universe, right? Michael Gove is in The Guardian today saying, we've got to do something about the bees. We've got to ban neonicotinoids,
oh right, yeah,
fertilizer, all that stuff, all those pesticides and everything. They got to ban them. They have to ban them because it's killing the bees and it's killing all the other flying insects. We got to sort this shit out. I'm like, wow, me and Michael Gove agree on something fantastic.
Yeah. He probably just doesn't have. He probably just doesn't have shares in the company that produces
it. Right, exactly.
So
there's no money in bees. You know what I mean? So he's not involved in the honey companies. But as it is, that's something I can agree on. Everyone can agree on that. A lot of people agree with that. But they see a fucking rat, they shit the bed. Guess what? That fucking rat and his family has probably been living in that area for generations. Generations. Just living their fucking life. They do a job. If you ever see bits of food in the street, you don't. You know why? Because Ratty McRattison and all his little ratty buddies take care of that shit. You think the street sweepers are out night and day hoovering up all the garbage? No. Friends.
Trust me, they have a lot of friends as well in high places, literally, because the rats of the sky, seagulls, are also helping them clear the streets of just about anything. They'll literally fucking eat anything.
They will. Honestly, it's the bubonic plague was a disaster for rat PR, and they've never recovered. They've never recovered.
I mean, I think that they're pretty cool rats. Like, I'm sure they spread disease.
Man, I don't think that they're cool. Actually,
do you know who else spreads disease? Human fucking beings, and we still let them walk around, don't we?
Yeah, they do it all the time. They go on a cruise ship and they spread their diseases to each other, and they're shitting on a boat.
Yeah,
fucking constantly.
I just hate the double standards. People are all, I've got to save the polar bears, and they're like, there's a rat. No, they're your friends too. They deserve life. We just happen to build a city where they would have otherwise been living. You got to get along. Got to get along, man. Come on.
You got to get along. They're hard-wearing rats, right? They can live in like really atrocious conditions, and they'd be able to survive long past humans like becoming extinct.
Oh yeah, they'd fucking love it if we became extinct. Honestly,
well, I don't know if they would. Not now. They're spoiled now because they get all of our.
That's true.
They get all of our scraps and our poops.
But they'd love it for a while, and then they'd be like, you know what?
They would,
it was fucking good when those idiots were around chucking McDonald's French fries in a park.
Now they don't have anyone chucking McDonald's stuff on the ground, so they'd
evolve.
They got to eat berries and stuff. They got to go back to basics. They got to go back to nature.
Did you guys watch Blue Planet 2? Have you watched that show?
It was on the other day, and we watched like a bit of it, but not all of it.
Oh man, I fucking love that show. I've watched like all of those the BBC nature documentaries that are just mind blowing. Like this is like the pinnacle of technical documentary making. Like the techniques that they use, the technology, the camera people, the lengths they go to get the shots and everything. It's incredible. Yeah. But it's all the little facts that Attenborough chucks in that you think, what? It's like he'll chuck like 3 mind-blowing facts at you in the space of like 2 minutes. Like in the last week's episode, they're deep under the Arctic ice, right? So there's like not the Arctic ice, but they go down the side of this iceberg, and they're like a kilometer down, and they land in this mud, and he says this mud, which is made up of the snow that rains from above, of tiny particulate matter of organic stuff, lands here and forms in some places a bed of mud up to a mile thick. You're like, a mile thick of just organic sludge that's just there. And then he says, and this organic sludge covers around 90% of the planet. You're like, what the fuck? Like 90%? And then he's like, he hits you with another fact. He's like, here at this underground coral thing in the sea, I can't remember what he called it, but it's that. It's a coral thing. And he tells you, first of all, this coral, he shows you a little tiny bit of coral. It's like waving, very cute and sweet. Ooh, coral just waving in the currents of the ocean, very slight current. It grows about a hair's breadth per year. And then it pans out, and there's a coral the size of a fucking bus. And you think, and he says this one is probably about 4,000 years old. So you're like, shit, there were people building pyramids in ancient Egypt when this coral was just a little nubbin on a rock. And now here it is 4,000 years later, this majestic coral. And he just chucks that at you. And you're like, what do I do with this information, David? Where else can we go from here? And then he says,
come on, Dave.
He's like, guess what? 90% of all life on Earth exists in this area, like under the sea, this deep sea area. 90% of all life on Earth is deep sea. Like, we are the scratch on the surface of life up here on the surface. Most shit is happening in the ocean, deep down. And I was like, holy shit, Attenborough, you've blown my fucking mind once again. And my kids are like, Dad, why are you saying wow? I was like, a mile of organic sludge, girls. Can you believe it? And they were like, how big is a mile? I was like, oh shit, I have to relate this to them in distances and scales that they can understand.
You know like how far school is from your house?
Yeah, imagine that times like 50. I'm like, wow.
Oh man.
And they're like, how big is that? I'm like, yeah, all right, this is tough. So
that is amazing.
It's hard to explain, but yeah, they don't quite get it.
Fish, they love to have sex with the coral.
Right, changing the channel, girls. Let's watch something else.
Into the coral, and for every one of them that has sex with the coral, one of them must die.
It's like, it suddenly goes very dark and sexual, doesn't it? Often.
The ultimate sacrifice.
I mean, there was a fucking show we were watching the other day with the baby seals. And they're looking at the baby seals, and they're marking the baby seals with paint. And my kids are like, oh, look at the baby seals. And then they're like, but tragedy struck next week. And I was like, brace yourselves. And a storm hits the island. And Mrs. F was like, girls, go in the kitchen. And the lady's like, some of these pictures may be distressing. And we're like, run to the kitchen now. So they run to the kitchen. And there's all these shots of these dead baby seals who we'd been seeing like a week later. The seals are like, their little brains are smashed on the rock. Like,
oh, no.
And they were like, yeah, this is nature, kids. And I was like, all right, girls, you can come back now. And like, I just don't want them to see that. You know what I mean? They give them a few years of innocence, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
God damn
but it's always like, that's the problem with these documentaries. Like, it always suddenly takes a dark turn, doesn't it? Because nature is pretty fucking cruel and brutal.
They love to chuck that shit at you.
I mean, that's... Yeah.
So I've been watching The Apprentice, okay, on
on
BBC.
It still going?
It's
Which
still
one?
going.
The UK one?
The UK one, yeah, it's still going. It was just something. It's just something every once in a while. My wife watches it all the time, and she's like, "You want to watch it with me this season?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure."
The Apprentice is one of those things that ordinary people, ordinary UK people, when they come into the office and they work around the water cooler chat, the equivalent of that, they talk about The Apprentice, they talk about Strictly Come Dancing, they talk about Bake Off, right?
Oh my god, though!
Fucking shows.
Fucking The Apprentice is so frustrating to watch, though, because I don't know what is going through these people's minds, like ever.
Yeah.
They're
just insane.
Dumb.
They're
Holy
so dumb.
shit, they're stupid. It's crazy.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they were dumb, but you felt like they were there as part of a learning experience, or they were humble and they were like, yeah, no, that's something I need to improve on.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, mate, I'm the best salesman in history, and I can prove it. And you're like, what?
They do everything they can to like cushion the blow, right? Like you've got video evidence of a guy saying something, and he's just denying it. He's like, I never said that. I said this, and it just makes it sound a little bit better than it is, right? And that's all it is. It's just a little tiny bit better, just so he doesn't look like a complete steaming moron, right?
Yeah.
But like, you just rewind it like 5 minutes, and he just literally said that, and it sounded just as bad as it sounds like being brought back up to him. And he's just denying it. He just flat out denies it. You just think, oh, for fuck's sakes, like, come on, you know. And all these people come from business backgrounds too, right? Like they're not. It's not just people pulled off the street who, you know, have never like run a business or anything. At least these people have like built a business or something, right? So you think that they'd have some experience. And I get that some of the tasks are like out of their comfort zone or to do with industries that maybe they know nothing about or whatever. But like they're so simple. It's just fucking common sense, right?
Oh my God. Yeah,
it's infuriating to watch.
To just like say something about that point, like. Everyone it's the same thing it feels like the same thing in politics and business. It's just a thing. It's like, it reminds me of that fucking song from ages ago by Shaggy. It wasn't me, right? And so it's like, it was definitely you, but all you've said is it wasn't me, and that's enough to get you off. Unbelievably.
Fuck. It's fucking crazy.
That is like the confidence to just lie, even in the face of overwhelming evidence.
Oh, God. Okay, so...
It often just gets you through. It's like poker. Like, you know, you just bullshit people enough, even though, like, sometimes they're showing you that they haven't got you a good hand, and they're just saying, I've got you beat. And that's enough often to fucking convince people. So it's unbelievable.
So the one last night, okay, the task was they had to go to Bruges, and they had to do like a tour of the city, any kind of tour, okay, of the city, for people on a cruise ship, okay? So they went onto the cruise ship. They had to sell 16 tickets to people on the cruise ship to go on this tour, okay? And they had to come up with the tour and you know, take people out. The people, if they didn't like the tour, they could request refunds. So like it affected the bottom line sort of thing. And then there was opportunities in and throughout for them to maybe make some additional money through like selling some like souvenirs or something, right?
Yeah.
And like a couple of them are clever enough to think outside the box, and it's interesting to watch them, right? But so the other ones is like, oh God. So one team decided that they were going to do a historical tour, okay, of Bruges. None of them know anything about the city, okay? So I don't know why this was the idea. And then they nominated one person to become like the expert to know like about some of the sites that they were going to go to. And she didn't have a fucking clue. And she was just like, oh, you know, I really struggle with historical facts and stuff. I'm not gonna be good on this. And like the person who was in charge was like, no, you'll be fine. You know, you're funny and stuff. It'll be great. And then they got lost.
Oh my God.
They actually got lost. And like the people's faces that were on the tour, I had to look away sometimes. Like it was so fucking embarrassing. Oh my God. Why would you do a historical tour? Like, it just,
of a place you've probably
so
never been. And you're not even Belgian.
I know.
This is a building, quite an old-looking building, judging by the... what does that say? It's quite old, that one, isn't it? Look at that. Everybody take a picture of the old building. What is it? Let's go inside and find out. I thought this was a tour, a guided tour.
Oh, God. And then at the end, they're like, okay, we need to buy some cheap souvenirs and like sell them for more to make some more profit on top. Because at the end of it, they're judged by how much profit the whole thing is made, right? So ticket sales, souvenirs, and whatever other scheme that they've come up with to make some money sort of thing. So they go into like this crappy souvenir shop and they bought 50 key rings, and they were just fucking the worst key rings you've ever seen, okay? And they put them all into like a plastic bag, and they were just going around the boat after, and they were trying to sell these key rings to people. And it was just like, holy shit, like just get me on the show. I would do dumb shit like that. No problem. Like I'd happily be on your show. Like, oh, fuck's sake. It was crazy. It's just nuts. I can't believe they just don't all get fired. Like it's.
You know what you were saying about how they have a business background. Here's my thing with that, right? A lot of fucking people consider themselves business people or entrepreneurs, and what it means is I'm a bit of a wide boy, and I sold a few used cars, and I've got my nose in a few shitty businesses that are going to crash and burn like most businesses do. If you were a fucking businessman and you were as good as you say, why aren't you out there doing it? Why are you on a fucking TV show with Alan Sugar? Why don't, I mean, they should go on there and be like, this is what I want to do, and I've got some big ideas, but I haven't got the capital to get it started, and I need some guidance and experience, and I really want to do that, and I think you'd be a good guy to work with. But second of all, why the fuck would you want to work with Alan Sugar? I've used Amstrad products and they're fucking garbage. That's a personal opinion, not shared by the Oxcast, I'm sure. But let's be honest, the Amstrad home computer back in the days of the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum, the fucking Amstrad was the worst. My mate had one, and it was like a shameful thing to have the Amstrad CPC as opposed to the Spectrum or the fucking Commodore.
Commodore 64 was solid, man. It was so good.
He just sells this shit to other shit companies, right? So he has these business dinners or golf course meetups with other CEOs who are like, yeah, we need to order some new phones for our entire company. All of our warehouses full of underpaid, you know, annoying phone ringers or whatever, you know, harassing phone call guys need new phones. I'm ordering 2,000 of your phones. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's all idiots. It's just fucking assholes.
It's all these 2,000.
It's all these stupid shitheads, you know, who've somehow made it to the top through sheer luck.
Yeah, it's all set-top boxes for like digital TV and satellite TV. A lot of those were made by Amstrad, and they fucking suck. If you've owned one of those set-top boxes a few years ago that crashed all the time, didn't fucking work, miserably slow menu, horribly small hard drive, probably made by Amstrad. They're just junk. It's junk. And he says as much. He says, I just make cheap shit to sell. I just want to sell a lot of it. Like, that's their whole angle is, no, it's not the best, but it's fucking cheap as chips. Like, that's his whole angle.
Having said all of that,
I hate it.
This is our perfect segue into introducing our special guest this week. And we got Sir Alan Sugar on the show today.
At least Alan Sugar is to somewhat self-made. You know, he like started with nothing, and then
he was basically Del Boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He started off with a stall selling electronic goods. I mean, that's the thing. I cannot hate the guy because he is what he is.
That kind of makes him
he is what he is.
At least somewhat respectable, as opposed to some of these other people, I guess, like Trump, for example, who inherited a vast fortune.
I mean, he's the absolute rags to riches tale, right? But the thing is, I don't know why you'd want to work with him. That's all I'm saying. I'm a self-made man. Brilliant, go for it.
I mean, I think the whole Apprentice caricature of him is not too far from the truth.
Oh no, that's him. Yeah,
but
I don't know. I think they make him look a lot more competent in the Apprentice.
Del Boy, wide boy, like a-hole. You
should follow him on Twitter. He is fucking unintentionally hilarious on Twitter. Like
Amstrad, you know, Amstrad comes from his initials, right?
Yeah. AMS Trading,
yeah.
I've read his fucking biography, mate. It's hilarious.
You have? Oh,
yeah, I've got it somewhere. I can't remember what it's called, but I bought it because I love the character of Alan Sugar. It's not a character; it's just him. But he's one of those guys. The problem with people who've done that self-made, I had nothing and now I am, is they never stop fucking telling you about it. Like they're fucking obsessed with how successful they are and how fucking great they are, and you should suck their dick because they started with a stall selling CDs and now they're making £1 billion a year doing it. It's like, yeah, all right, mate, we get it. You're a successful businessman. You're still an arsehole. I don't care. Being an arsehole's got me where I am today, lads. You know what I mean? And when I'm driving around in my fucking Mercedes-Benz, you can think I'm an arsehole. You like, that's how it should go.
Yeah.
So you just be nice, you know. Don't be a dick. And all the people that work for him, they all scowling, miserable people, grey face. It's like, God, why would you want to work with those cunts? They seem horrible.
I know. Oh God,
man.
I'm glad we got the C word out because that's just all I'm thinking about. Like watching these shows, like thinking, like this whole experience. It's just so awful. No wonder we play video games all the time. Do you know what?
God.
If I can get addicted to video games, just don't try to get. Because I think I prefer doing that than when I watch these fucking TV shows. Man, it just stresses me out so much.
Well, hey, listen though. On the topic of TV shows, I watched the first season of Mindhunter, and that shit was fucking awesome.
Holy I like that. I liked it. It's a good show.
It. I like the David Fincher camera angles.
Really
I like
fucking
the sort of slow burning, but also slightly kind of dark undertones of the whole thing. Like sort of Because I mean, I feel like
you gotta hit that pussy before it turns into mom. Fuck me. Fuck me. It's so fucking dark. Holy
God, the
shit.
interviews with the serial killers are so good, aren't
Yeah.
they? So
I didn't realize, like, I'd never heard of Ed Kemper, but he's a real guy, and that all really happened.
Yeah,
which is fucking nuts.
all those guys are real guys.
Yeah,
like, that was the thing. My
I
mum
didn't
watched
realize.
it. My mum watched it. She said, "Oh, I hadn't thought about those names in years, but yeah, they really like Richard Speck. Like that was a big one.
Yeah,
like I kind of feel like it's really interesting. One of the things they said was that the nature of those crimes is a reflection of some change in society. I don't know if it was in Mindhunter, if it was an article I read about Mindhunter and about how
it's a lot about It's like,
that was the theory at the time,
hadn't
right?
had this. Yeah, the police hadn't faced this before. Where the fuck is this coming from?
They didn't really understand why people would want to kill other people at random.
Yeah, that's it. They went from operating on motive, like pure motive, and it was always like a jilted lover or like. You know, there's always a reason for a killing.
It was always someone the victim knew. Yeah, there was always a motive.
And I think there'd always been like sort of serial killers, but they just never. It was never frequent enough for them to bother classifying it or getting getting behind it or whatever. Like you're trying to figure it out, and I guess like this whole. The show sort of explores that side of the FBI where they finally decided, like, hang on a second, there is like definitely some psychology here to be considered. And stuff.
There's patterns within.
Yeah.
So sorry, this series is about. I love how we all know about it. And we're all just diving into.
I'm sure everybody's watched it though. It's like really highly rated. Everybody's just probably raving on about it.
Give us a summary, Lulu. Just for anyone.
It's set in like the sort of at the dawn, the late 70s, the dawn of sort of criminal psychology and profiling of the first what they call. Originally, I think they call them sequence killers. They coined the term serial killers in the show, which is quite nice. And it's got some sort of I don't know. It's got the classic kind of grizzled sort of that detective FBI agent and a young
like Bill Trench is fucking awesome, isn't he? Like he just wants to go golfing. He's smoking everywhere, smoking on the plane and stuff. He's like perfectly cast. It's really, excellent.
It's really cool. It's really nicely done. The sort of late 70s with
they capture it perfectly. They really do.
Back in the days where you could literally go to an airport and just get on a plane like it was a bus or a train or something. You didn't like have to go through hours of
that lax attitude facilitated so much cocaine entering the United States in the early 1980s. Like it was insane.
It's crazy. Like I think the way airports almost felt like a hotel. Like when you check in, you just have to fill out that little form and show some ID, and they're like, right, off you go. It's like the same kind of thing. They're all nice and happy to see you, and and there weren't that many people flying. That was the other thing that people forget is that flight was just not like a common form of travel.
No,
it was like if you were fairly wealthy and going on holiday, I mean, a lot of Americans still to this day don't have a passport and travel overseas. They travel internally, but even then, people took the Greyhound bus and there were trains and stuff, and now flight is so cheap and there's so many airlines competing with each other that the price has gone down.
Oh my God.
That you can just do that. But back then, I mean, geez, I remember flying when I was a kid and the airport was never as busy as it is now. Now it's always fucking busy. And every flight seems to be full. Like every flight seems to be fucking full. I'm like, it's a Tuesday morning. Why are there 200 people on this plane? Like, where the fuck are they going? I know where I'm going. Where the fuck are they going?
I'm the only one that matters here. Fuck.
It's just like when I'm driving. I'm driving. It's like 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and the roads are full. I'm like, where the fuck are you all going?
Well, this is
such
exactly
a dad
what
thing,
it's like.
though. I constantly think that as well.
There's so many people
go
in the world.
Go fucking home. I have to be here. You don't.
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
That's my first thought. It's incredibly selfish, but I'm literally like, where the fuck what are all these assholes doing on the fucking road? Go home. Jesus.
Yeah. Got to send out a memo to everybody that you're going to be using the road so that they can clear the way.
I would love to have that power. just going to be, I just tweeted it out. I just tweet out, driving to Bournemouth this weekend, fuck off everybody else.
Stay off the fucking roads.
Everybody stays up.
I want a clear journey. I don't want any traffic. I don't want to get stuck. I just want to go.
Well, I'm driving to Bristol on Monday. But it's not going to be till the evening. Right, so I'm going to be driving down like 8 o'clock or something like that. So I'll get down there pretty late because I've got to wait for Mrs. F to get home, and then I load up the car and everything, and off I go. So that should be great because sometimes driving to Bristol is wank, like it's just busy. But what I used to do when Babby Flax was a tiny babby, and we were having the loft redone, so we'd have somewhere to put her. The house was completely torn apart by the work that was being done, and Mrs. F was on maternity leave, so she took tiny Babby Flax and lived down in Bournemouth for like 3 or 4 months or something like that. And I stayed up here working. I think it was like 3 months. So I stayed up here living in like the building site of our house. And when I finished work at about midnight, and I would drive straight down to Bournemouth in my Saab 9.3, which was just the best car I ever had. And I would be able to drive down in like an hour flat, like just foot to the floor all the way down. And the only thing I would see is trucks, like postal trucks. That's it, just carrying the post. Not a single other car. And that spoiled me, because now that's all I expect. Every time I get in the motorway, I'm like, this is just going to be clear run all the way. And it never is. It never fucking is.
It's really satisfying when you do get a clear road, though, and you're just like,
it's nothing like it.
You drive, you don't have anyone to gauge your speed against, though. And sometimes you drive a bit too fast.
That was in those days. I drove much too fast. I went on. I got caught speeding one time, unsurprisingly, when I was down in Kent, and they pulled me over. And I was driving along at like 40 because I thought it was like country roads, but I was still in the town by like half a mile. The speed limit stayed, because there were houses behind this big row of hedges. You couldn't see the houses because of the hedges. But this copper suddenly appeared like a sniper with the gun from like behind the hedge, and I was like, "Oh fuck, he's got me!" Signaled for me to pull in, and he was like, "Right, sir, just wish to caution you, I have, using the laser weaponry that I've got here, detected you going at 40 miles per hour in what is a 30 mile per hour zone. Now I'm cautioning you." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." I said, "Yeah, well, I did it. I fucking admit it was me.
Exact same
I
shit
was
happened
driving."
to me.
And they made me go on a course.
Oh, did they?
They said you can either have 3 points on your license and a fine, or you can pay to go on an anti-speeding course. And I was like, well, fucking go on the course then. So I had to go. It was like a full 3 or 4 day course in Ealing. And Mrs. F had to take the week off work because it was right in the middle of the day.
Oh, God.
So she took a week off. I had to go to this course. It was a pain in the ass to get to. And you have to sit there in this classroom for like 2 hours, like for 3 or 4 days a week. And they lecture you about how shitty a human being you are for speeding and everything like that.
Well,
but the thing is, the guy was really good.
9 points on her license,
Wow.
and she had to go on a course. She was like almost, because if you get 12, then you're fucking you lose it.
But here's the thing, Lewis. That's interesting. Your mum getting caught speeding, because we were in there, and the instructor made some really, really interesting statements. And in a David Attenborough style, I shall now blow all of your minds. I shall now blow all of your minds. Okay. Number one, the average age of the people in that room was like older than me. There was a lot of old dudes in there and some older ladies in there, and like I was one of the youngest people in there.
Were they all road ragers?
With speeding.
They're all. You think it's going to be all like people with sort of salad-faced, smoking, like kind of, but it's
little
not. It's like your mum.
It's exactly right.
Little old ladies you think would be like, not tearing around the place.
Exactly.
But no.
They're the ones. It's those older guys, especially, doing the fucking drink driving. Oh, I've been doing it my whole life, and it's no problem. My dad used to do it, and like no problem. We'd go to the bar, and I'd say, "How are we getting back?" He's like, "I'm just going to drive." I was like, "You've had like 4 beers." He was like, "Everybody does it around here." It's like, what else are we going to do? Get a cab? And they were like, laughing. I was like, "Please, yes, let's do that." but that's how they are. Like the older guys are like, I'll speed if I want. I'll drink drive if I want. Who the fuck are you to tell me? But he said the safest drivers we've got are young people. Like young people, 17 to 24, 25, are much, much safer statistically than older drivers with all these fucking years of experience, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, it's like a complacency thing, I guess.
No, I think it's just a change in attitude. Like our approach when we're teaching people how to drive now is a lot more about safety.
But the new drivers are in a lot more accidents, though, right?
No, I don't think so.
That's why the insurance is so high.
No, it's just people. No, it's because you've got all the no claims, right? So there aren't that many accidents, for one thing, right? The road traffic, our roads in the UK are the safest in Europe.
Whoa.
Right? And way safer than America.
Literally every time I'm on a motorway in the UK, there's an accident that's like causing traffic delays.
Have you been to America?
It was like teen drivers were like twice as more.
I don't know about accidents, but a lot of those would be things like inexperience at driving, but not necessarily speeding, not necessarily drink driving, but things like skidding, taking a corner faster than they should, not responding to stuff that's happening, like stuff like that. Those might be accidents caused by younger drivers, but a lot less of them are speeding. Hardly any of them are drink driving, And I just thought it was really interesting. Like, he was literally saying, you are the fucking guys who've been caught speeding right here. He said, this is not an uncommon sample. It's almost all older people getting caught. It's not all these younger kids. They're not the ones driving like maniacs, which I thought was really interesting. But the fact our roads are much safer, younger people have been brought up with this whole culture of you do not drink and drive. And alcohol is the number one fucking cause, I think, after tiredness, or it's tiredness, alcohol, then tiredness and alcohol, one of the two, of accidents, right? Drinking is a fucking disaster when it comes to driving. So when I'm driving down the motorway, you'll often see like caravan at the side of the road that's had an accident, or a car's gone into the back of another car or whatever. But that's more like traffic rather than bad driving. That's just fucking too many cars on the road, and everybody's just not paying attention. That's the problem. Whenever I go to the States, I see fucking, oh my God. One time we were driving to the airport, it was raining so bad, visibility was about 10 meters, all right? Just rain was that heavy. We're driving along, and my dad's laughing because he can't see. He's just like, the windscreen wipers are going full speed. We literally cannot see. He's just laughing because it's so ridiculous. And we come around this corner and the weather clears a tiny bit, and there's a fucking car on its hood, like upside down.
Oh, fuck.
On the grass, just down this little embankment. The guy had obviously just missed the corner, gone straight off the edge of the road, just flipped the car, was just lying there, like still steaming because it had just come off the road. We were like, holy fuck. There's a dude that's just been flipped upside down.
It is amazing how blind people are.
I saw a car flip upside down one time.
Go on, you tell your story in a second, but like I completely understand that mentality, right? Because when I was driving home, all I wanted to do was get home, and I didn't care. I was like, the weather's like terrible. Who cares? I've got a car. I'm on the road. You know, I'm in a modern world. Nothing bad can happen. But honestly, like, I know that, I understand that psychotic mentality of not waiting 5 minutes for the rain to let up.
They don't
just
think,
fucking driving like a lunatic through the most dangerous weather conditions ever. Because people just think they're invulnerable. Being inside like a ton of metal, you know, behind a windscreen, you know, makes you think that you're. I think sometimes driving a car is, at least when I was driving, sometimes didn't feel real. Like felt like playing a video game or something. When you kind of detach yourself from reality.
And it's also fucking boring, man. Like, it is boring. Motorway driving, you just turn the wheel a tiny bit. It's like it's like there's nothing to it. At least in the town, you know, you're having to slow down, you stop and you're alert and stuff, but on the motorway...
Or if you're like on a bike, you know, or like a motorbike, even on a motorbike, you're much more aware of your surroundings.
You're outside,
even though it's
essentially.
Way more dangerous.
Yeah, you're traveling at 70 or 80 miles an hour outdoors. Like, I'm indoors in my car. You're outdoors
I was sat in my car,
motorcycle.
like, fucking doing like 100 on the motorway and just like, not really aware of like what I was doing, which was, you know, rocketing along in
what you're doing
a ton of metal. Anyway, what was the story about a car flipping over in front of you?
Yeah, please.
So I was like 12 and we were driving to Toronto, okay? And in Canada, you've got like... You know,
so it's like 16 hours driving.
Yeah, well, it's like 6 hours from Ottawa, so it's a pretty long drive.
Pretty long.
In Canada, you've got, like, in the cities, you've got, like, you know, like big highways, like the freeway type thing that you see, like, in America or whatever. But then out, like, in the countryside, you've got these, they're like the equivalent of, like, A roads, right? They're like 2 lanes one way, 2 lanes the other. You can drive like pretty fast on them. I think it's like 100 kilometers an hour speed limit or whatever. And you know, they're just meant for you to get like from city to city sort of thing, you know, like they sort of bypass like a lot of towns and stuff. So we were on like this road driving like fairly fast, and there was like 2 cars ahead of us, and then like the second car like ahead of like the one directly in front of us, was like this pickup truck. We were just driving along and we were just chatting or whatever. And then all of a sudden this truck just like veered off to the right and then flew up in the air. Like it was crazy. It was like really surreal. Like it felt like time just slowed down. Flew up in the air and like flipped over into the ditch. So we like stopped, and like this is before there were cell phones and stuff. Somebody had to go find a payphone to phone an ambulance and stuff. And we were waiting around like for the police to come so that we could say like what we saw or whatever. And it turned out that this guy just like, I think he just had a stroke or something at the wheel. And then that was it. It was just like, whoom, like right off the road. And then, flipped over. Like, I think he was okay, actually, surprisingly, because it was like, the car was like fucking completely upside down and flew up like into the air pretty high. Because like on the side of the road, there was like a bit of like, It wasn't like hedgerows, but like there's like a little bit of a almost like like a ramp of grass or something.
Yeah,
and so it just
doesn't take much, right?
I know,
at that speed,
because he was going pretty fast, he just like went flying, and it was just really fucking surreal. But like it just shows how quickly things can happen. Like all that need to happen is that guy briefly fell asleep and lost control, or like had a stroke, or was like drunk or whatever. But like. Yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy.
It's scary. So by the way, I just looked it up. We're actually third in safety. This is in the world, by the way.
Wow.
With 2.9 road deaths per 100,000 people in 2015.
Jeez.
That's pretty fucking good. Now, beating us into sorry, I thought we were first. I thought we were first in Europe at least, but Sweden is marginally better than us with 2.8 deaths per 100,000 to our 2.9. So it's pretty fucking close. The number one safest place in the world to drive? The Federated States of Micronesia. So who fucking cares? Basically us.
Where there are no cars.
Yeah, literally. That one tractor killed 50 people last year. It was a disaster.
Yeah. Oh, incidentally, by the way, I saw Jersey in the news this week.
Oh,
because Apple has like
Don't.
250. How do people on Jersey feel about like the fact that Jersey is like a tax haven for Apple's $250 billion of cash just sat there?
It's not new news. Panorama like sort of make it out to be like, oh, we've uncovered. I mean, literally, the industry over here has been built around this for like 50 years.
Yeah.
So it's not anything new. Like, there's obviously a lot of people with a lot of money squirreling it away here and in other tax havens. The thing is, the big repercussions of this, though, is that they're circulating and compiling like a blacklist of non-compliant tax havens. Okay,
right.
So, and Jersey's fairly confident that it's not going to be added to that because it is very regulated over here. They've got a lot of regulation. They've got a surprising amount of transparency as well. And in like the past few years, at least in the past, I think 5 years or so, the American government sort of requested access to records over here and in other jurisdictions as well, tax havens, so that they could see where American companies were squirreling away money and avoiding tax because they were having so many problems with it. So, like, I don't think it's as bad as they say that it is. I mean, there's obviously some moral lines there. Like, there's a lot of money potentially not being put back into the tax system, but equally, they're talking about guys like Lewis Hamilton, who was like, dodged like a $4 million tax bill on a private jet that he bought or whatever. But he's still paying tax. He hasn't avoided all tax. Like, he has to pay income tax at some point. He's going to have to pay some corporation tax at some point. Like, not all of his companies are based in Jersey.
Here's what I don't understand, right? I can't, if I'm an employee or even a self-employed like I am in this country, I cannot just say, hey, my business is located in the Cayman Islands. So anytime I get paid anything, I'm working at McDonald's. Oh, yeah, please forward my check to my bank in the Cayman Islands. It's like, why should I not be able to benefit from that system as well? If everybody did it, it would be fair, but there'd be no tax paid. So the fact that these massive companies, Apple is, by the way, the richest company in the fucking world. Yeah. Still not enough. No. We have to hide all our money. Why the fuck can I buy something from Amazon?
It's 100% legal, though. That's the thing. Like, for Apple,
but that's the thing.
It's a no-brainer. You hire two guys on and you say your job is to
hide the money, put it in Luxembourg.
No, make us legally pay the least amount of tax that we have to pay. And they're like, well, okay, all we need to do is set up a load of these things that are totally legal, 100% legal, because they're just loopholes.
Yeah.
And bam, we pay 3% tax instead of 50% tax.
Right, but to me, it's not a loophole.
Why wouldn't we do that?
If I buy something in this country and it's delivered to me in this country, I should have to pay fucking tax on that. And the guy that fucking made it and made the money, he should have to pay tax on it. It's
ethically, morally, like, it's 100% right, but it's easy not to because it's legally not a problem. This is the problem. Like, I think that we're in a situation where the richer you are, the less tax you pay, right?
Yeah,
and it's always it's kind of bullshit, but it's a systemic problem.
But the other argument is that rich people pay most of the tax in this country.
They do, of course they do, because it's percentage based. So
exactly. But like, I think it's like 70%.
People who don't earn money in this country are not paying any fucking tax. So
their feeling is, we already pay enough. Why should we have to pay more? That's the way they see it. But I mean, the thing is, if you look at the underfunding and everything,
I hate that phrase though, that rich people pay most of the tax. That seems to me
technically
to just
they
be
do
bullshit. But also rich people have 97% of the wealth or something, of the global wealth. How is if you have that much of the wealth, surely you should pay 97% of the tax, right?
Yeah.
If you have 97% of the wealth, I don't understand how. Sure, you paying 51% of the tax, but having 97% of the wealth feels wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't agree
the argument
with
that a lot of people make about the tax thing is, apart from the fact of saying, oh, well, we already pay most of the taxes anyway, is, it's perfectly legal. And it is. You're right, it is. I think that should change.
Too.
I think it should change. But the thing is, the reason these papers are important, my mates were like, how is this news? And like Sip said, it's an open secret. Everybody knew it already. Everybody knew people were hiding money in offshore. But now that we can name them and actually point to them and say, it's that guy, that's pressure. It does put pressure on people. And eventually, as names start to come out, we can actually really examine this. And once it becomes a fixed thing in people's minds that these people, that guy over there is actually doing this, this is how much he hid, maybe something will be done about it. When it's just a nebulous idea that, we know, but what can we do? It's much harder to motivate people, I think.
When it becomes like a PR thing, that's when they'll actually do something about it. Yeah, because they don't want to look bad. Like, they know that it's not great, and then when people find out about it, it looks terrible, so they scramble to fix it, or they'll probably announce in a couple of weeks that they are fully compliant and that they paid this much tax and they rescued 20 baby seals from a sinking barge one time, and they'll do everything they can to sort of like gussy it up and make it look better than it is or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely some moral lines that people need to think about.
It's a problem, and we I think the anger of people will get on top of it. But it's a little bit like the open secret thing. You need to just get that out in the open. Like, look at Kevin Spacey. It was an open secret that he was gay in Hollywood and stuff. And I don't know, open secrets just have to be acknowledged, and then suddenly it spirals out of control. And
that thing is so weird. The whole Kevin Spacey thing is bizarre. I don't even. There's so many questions for me, about the stuff that's coming out, and the fact that House of Cards is potentially axed now off the back.
Oh, it
of
is axed.
Stuff.
No, it is. It's not
it
potentially.
Is fully
they
axed.
cancelled it.
For fuck's sake!
And there's a film that comes out in 6 weeks. And they've edited it so that his entire part in the movie has been replaced by another actor.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if it's I think Christopher Plummer. So I'm wondering if, do you remember that episode of the Fallout Boy episode of The Simpsons where the editor says, it's all right, we can do it all in post, and he cuts it all together, and there's a shot where he goes, I think they are creeping up on us, Fallout Boy, and it cuts to a shot of Milhouse just in a normal room sitting on a stool. He just goes, yes. Is that going to be what they're going to do with Kevin Spacey's role in the movie?
So. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't read enough about it, so I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know if he's a dangerous pedophile or what. But what I did read was that apparently he was at a massively cocaine and alcohol fueled party, and invited a 14-year-old boy to this party.
Yeah.
When I was 14, I was not going to cocaine parties, barely even alcohol parties either. It was. You know what I mean? How did this 14-year-old get into the situation where he was being taken to this party?
Well, so you're saying I don't know the details.
If I was 14, I would love to be invited to this party.
But you wouldn't want Kevin Spacey sexually assaulting you at that party, would you? I think is the problem.
Well, I know, yeah, but was there? I don't know. I won't say anything because I don't know all the facts or whatever. But I always thought Kevin Spacey was a pretty good actor and stuff, and I'm just surprised by all this.
But the classic problem here, Sips, is that there's no smoke without fire in some of these cases, and you know, this is like a bunch of other people have come out to say, yeah, Kevin Spacey did creepy sexual.
It's
all
a
of
creepy
the
guy.
Harvey Weinstein thing, right? Harvey Weinstein was this serial sexual predator, basically, and the classic what you expect to happen in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you want to get a job in my film? How about you suck my dick? It's like literally that.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, that's a thing, right? People like sleep their way to the top.
It's such a stereotypical, horrible thing that's
but it is a thing. Like there is a
Hollywood.
lot of desperation in Hollywood, right? Like you go to LA, like, and you meet people in LA, and you're like, "What do you do?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm an actor, but I'm bartending and stuff." And like, and I'm sure that these people do things that they wouldn't normally do to try to get parts and stuff like that. I think it's pretty well documented, actually, that this kind of shit happens.
But is it right? That's the question. Is it right
it's
for
not
Harvey
right.
Weinstein to
It's
do
not
that?
right, no. And there's a lot of these horrible predators out there. And the problem is that it's difficult to come out with it because if you're an actor and you want to get a job, you don't want to spend ages going to court or accusing some big named guy and get yourself blacklisted. You know, it's the whole culture, unfortunately, is one of silence, which means that, you know, it needs to be broken down and people need to be able to speak out about this stuff and not just falsely accuse people either of anything, because, you know, then it turns into some sort of witch hunt where, you know, it's like, oh, she's a witch, he's a witch, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be, it's really tricky, but
it's tricky, yeah. I
the
think
whole fucking
the
thing
timing
is
of
just
it
a
isn't
horrible mess.
ideal either, because some of it seems like, you know, some of this stuff happens like decades ago, and then finally somebody speaks out about it. And I guess maybe, you know, like I've never had to like endure the trauma of like sexual assault or anything. So maybe, you know, maybe I always just think that, you know, if something bad happened to me, I would probably speak about it almost straight away. You know what I mean? Like if it was really bad, or like, you know,
I mean, we think we would. I'm sure most people think
that's
they
what
would.
I'm saying. I think I would, but I'm not.
But yeah,
luckily never
I
been in
think-
that situation, so maybe I would like be ashamed.
I think this stuff does stick with you for a long time and doesn't heal quickly. And I think that people are affected by these assaults and things for their whole lives. So we do need to like. It's such a difficult subject.
Did you guys see? You know this Priti Patel, right? The cabinet minister. I think she was a foreign minister, right, or minister for foreign development or something.
Right.
She goes out. She's done this thing that she shouldn't have done, where she had these meetings without revealing them. That, you know, essentially she was having meetings as a minister of the British government without telling the British government she was having these meetings. That's a problem. She's on her way back. She's going to be fired when she gets home because she's on holiday or something. She comes home. She's at the airport. There's fucking a billion press camped out there. And then they're all shouting, "Pretty Huddersfield have been fired!" Click, 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 click. She gets in a car and they're driving it straight to number 10 to get fired by Theresa May, no doubt. And the BBC has a fucking helicopter following her car down the motorway with live shots of a car on the motorway, as if we couldn't imagine a car being driven by a human being on the motorway to another place. We gotta have live shots. We're going out live to our chopper in the sky over a motorway watching a car. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
We are sounding like dads now with this political
No,
chat.
24 hours news is the worst. It's
But
so
I agree.
bad.
Like the problem, it's everything is very inflated. It's such a difficult topic too, and it's so easy to tar someone's name or these days, you know, everyone is keen to post accusations, you know, as news stories to and you know, but they're not keen to post retractions when it turns out that all
John
this stuff
Ronson
is
wrote a
made
book
up.
about it, didn't he? John Ronson's book, So You've Been Publicly Shamed. That's very interesting, which is about exactly what you're talking about. So if people are interested in it, read that. Anyway,
Man.
this has been going on for over an hour, my friend.
This is
Friends?
Wow.
Yeah.
Chums.
I may live to regret, you know, appearing to support Kevin Spacey because, again, I don't know enough about it, okay? I'm just saying, so take everything that I've said about Kevin Spacey with a pinch of salt because I don't know all the facts, okay? It might turn out that he is like the most prolific sexual predator of our time.
It's tough,
and
isn't it?
I will definitely not support him if that's the case, okay? But
Because
I'm
we've
just saying,
enjoyed
like,
the films that he's been in.
but also I'm very aware that there is a lot of like hoo-ha made of stuff, like especially relevant stuff, you know, because all the Weinstein stuff has just happened and everything. It's relevant to that sort of thing, you know. Everybody's going to be on this like, you know, sexual assaults in Hollywood sort of, you know, thing now and everything. And I just like, I don't know, some of it feels witch hunty, but you know what? Again, I could be wrong, and
let's catch the bad guys. Let's catch the bad guys and not tar all the regular folks. I think would be a nice thing.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, one final thing. You guys, you've watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. You know Larry David's friend Jeff, his chubby friend Jeff, right? That's his name. Is it
his
Jeff?
manager.
My mum thought that was Harvey Weinstein. She was like, "Oh, he was so good in that Curb Your Enthusiasm." I was like, which episode of that was he in? She was like, he's his friend. He's in it all the time. I was like, no, man, that's like a completely different guy. It was so funny. She's like, I can't watch that show now knowing that. I was like, it's not him.
Oh, fuck.
Unbelievable.
God.
That is actually really funny.
Oh, on that bombshell.
Yeah.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week for some more. Until then, stay safe, stay frosty, go fuck yourselves, and good night.
And don't drink and drive.
Yeah, and don't flip your car on the highway either. Fuck.
Right. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.